Trapping. Hey, what's up, people? Welcome back to the Saturdays with the Boys podcast, and I'm here with a special guest. Say hi.
Hi.
Yes, we got a special guest here, and this is episode 72, believe it or not. We've been doing this shit for like 72 weeks, and so I'm kind of like in like a weird thing right now because I'm having to like, like put videos out ahead of time since literally, okay, so when we usually film these or record these is on Thursday nights, but we missed last night, which is fine. But literally, so you guys are seeing this a day before it releases, and we're gonna have to do another back-to-back episode after that for next week because either Sunday night or early Monday day, we're gonna be leaving for Colorado and we're gonna be driving. So that whole week we're probably gonna be driving, which means I probably won't have time to actually like sit down and record an episode, guys, and plus post it and when it needs to be posted. So yeah, so might do back-to-back episodes and whatnot, and yes, as you guys can see, I'm freaking emo again, my hair is black again. But it's been a while since I had my black hair. I kind of missed it. I think my hair hasn't been this colored for like 9-10 months, something like that, but not too long, but it's long enough for me. But yeah, but again, I told you guys last week that Kirby's actually in California, so he's not gonna be able to join us since he's doing his own thing in California. He's on vacay, and there were other certain things that popped up. I won't say what because I'll keep it private, obviously. But just let you guys know, since like Kirby's really like the co-host or like one of the hosts to the podcast, he probably won't be here as often as he is, which is fine because I know life happens and whatnot. But you guys know you guys will always have me here since I'm the one who edits and posts the videos all the time. So I'll be here, and I always appreciate the people that join me for the podcast. Like I've had other random people like join me for the podcast just to fill in for like either like Kirby or Hunter can't freaking talk, but anyways, so as you guys know, we take the first 5 minutes to talk about whatever and the last 5 minutes to talk about whatever. And by the way, I hope you guys are having an amazing summer. I know it's summertime for most of y'all probably. For all of you now, I guess I'm assuming. But yeah, and then we'll get into the topic after we hit the 5-minute mark. And yeah, so I'm just letting you guys know I've been super busy with like trying to like make sure videos are gonna be out and ahead, and it's a busy time of year for those kind of things. So I think I did this last year too, yeah, because of the move and whatnot. So that's freaking exciting. Yeah. So and then I believe I'm coming back either like late July or like early August, and then we'll get back into the groove of things as they have been. But I do look forward to going back to Colorado and hopefully making some videos with the guys. And just to let you guys know, I think Kirby's probably still going to be in California when I get there, so it might just be me, Hunter, Jesse, and Zach, so the 4 of us. So yeah, so it might not be the whole crew, but it'll be most of us at least. Sometimes you gotta make the most of what you got. So yeah. But anyways, so yeah. And is there anything you'd like to say before we get started into the topic?
Not that I would know of.
Yeah, like nothing random that's on your mind or anything?
Oh no, honestly.
Yeah, but just let me know if you guys have any like recommendations with like video ideas or like gaming ideas or anything like that, or even podcast topics that you guys want us to talk about. Because like I know there was someone left like an idea like back in March, and I have yet to like make a video on it because I'm just like, how do I do that? Like there's some sort of video idea and I haven't not yet to do it, and I'm just like, oh, I feel bad, but oh man. Alright, so... Okay, so I guess we'll just get right into the gritty of things. Alright, so we're past 5 minute mark, so the topic for this week is the Civil War. so, I apologize if you guys feel like you guys are back in high school, or still in high school for the next freaking hour here. I know I give Kirby shit because it's always been like ever since we started the podcast, it was all like his job to like write down podcast topics, as it was my job to record it and upload it. So we both kind of work together on that. But yeah, so it's on the Civil War. Even though the last like 2 weeks, it's been on like the Victorian era and like the Mongolian Japanese War, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, so I guess I'll start off by asking you, what do you know about the Civil War?
Me? Whew. I haven't been in high school for a while. I know it's about, like, what I do remember is something about slavery. That's definitely, like, a part of it. But do I know of what extent? Not really.
Yeah. Okay, I'm just gonna look on Google, because Google knows everything, obviously.
Oh, I found it. I found, like, a definition.
Oh, you did?
Yes.
Okay. Let's see.
I was right. It was about, like, something of slavery.
The American Civil War, that's what it says here. So the American Civil War took place between April 12th, 1861 through April 9th of 1865. It's about, I feel like the length of a war usually goes about 4 years.
1 month and 2 weeks.
Yeah. The American Civil War was a civil war in the United States. It was fought between the Union and the Confederacy. The latter formed by states that had seceded.
The central cause of the war was a dispute over whether slavery would be permitted to expand into the Western territories, leading to more slave states, or be prevented from doing so, which is widely believed would place slavery on a course of ultimate extinction.
Okay, so then we'll answer some questions here on Google. People also ask is, when did the Civil War start and end? April 12th, 1861 to April 9th, 1865. The war began with the Confederates bombarding Union soldiers at Fort Sumter, South Carolina on April 12, 1861. The war ended in spring 1865. Robert E. Lee surrendered the last major Confederate army to Ulysses S. Grant at Maddox Courthouse on April 9th, 1865. When did the Civil War begin? Again, 1861. At 4:30 a.m. on April 12, 1861, Confederate troops fired on Fort Sumter in South Carolina's Charleston Harbor. Less than 34 hours later, Union forces surrendered. Traditionally, this event has been used to mark the beginning of the Civil War. It's crazy how, at the start of the war, someone could be like, hey, fuck you. Oh, man, it's funny. Then you have, this whole frickin', big part of our history that happens years later. What started the Civil War and why? The American Civil War was fought between the United States of America and the Confederate States of America, a collection of 11 southern states that left the Union in 1860 and 1861. The conflict began primarily as a result of the long-lasting disagreement over the institution of slavery. And then, alright, so we literally just answered this. What was the Civil War fought over? A common explanation of the Civil War was fought over the moral issue of slavery. In fact, it was the economics of slavery and political control of that system that was central to the conflict. The key issue was states' rights.
Yeah, there was like more than one thing actually. There was like 3 causes actually for the Civil War, but slavery was the biggest one.
Yeah. And then, did the Civil War end slavery? The Emancipation Proclamation, I can't freaking read. And 13th...
Emancipation Proclamation.
Yeah, and 13th Amendment brought about by the Civil War were important milestones in the long process of ending legal slavery in the United States. Oh, man, okay. So then... Alright, you should go to YouTube. Okay, and then we search Civil War. Spelled that wrong. There we go. So it has, of course, it has freaking documentaries of all of it. Alright. And all kinds of different stuff pop up. Freaking, again, the American Civil War, and then Guns N' Roses have a song called Civil War. Captain America Civil War 2016.
Yeah, literally, that's what shows up for me when I type in Civil War.
Yeah. Oh man, it's freaking funny. It's funny. Oh man. But we're still early in the podcast, so usually what we've been doing is that like we'll talk about whatever we want to talk about, and then we'll get back into the topic or whatever.
I asked about the Civil War, and then it gives me the question: which president had 15 kids?
Which president had 15 kids?
Yeah.
Good lord. I feel bad for the wife.
I know, I was like, that's the most random thing to put there.
Can someone even actually live after having like 15 kids? Because that's a lot.
I mean, yeah, there's people that can have like a whole classroom of kids.
What the fuck?
And still live.
Who would even want that many kids?
I don't know, there's some people, they'll have like a whole classroom. The fact that they remember their names are awesome. I would need a name tag.
Well, like it's a freaking
actual class.
Or like it's an actual, yeah, like it's an actual class, or except you have like their name on the boards or something.
Exactly.
Oh, like that, but like that's insane. Like I don't think I could. I don't think I know anyone has that many kids. Or I don't think like like anyone has any kids from now.
It's usually people that were like born back then, obviously, that have like so many children, and now like people only go up to like 3 or 4.
Yeah.
Maximum.
Could you imagine like in today's day and age, and like how expensive kids are now, having that many kids in today's day and age? Do you know how insane that would be?
That would be very insane.
You would have to be like a billionaire to like afford to take care of all those kind of kids.
Yeah, or sell your coochie, but go on. Yeah.
Oh my god. Yeah, but that's fucking crazy though. Like, cause I don't think, like, honestly, I don't know anyone who has that many kids, but if I had to like think of people who has like a fuck ton of kids, it would probably be like, cause I won't call anybody out, but like I have like family members who have at least like 5 kids, and they're all like my cousins too. I'm just like, okay, how can you have 5 kids? Like that's like a whole tribe at that point.
Not a tribe.
Like honestly, I feel like the maximum to have kids is at least 2. Like that's what I feel like would be like a reasonable maximum, a reasonable one at least.
I mean, mine would be maximum of 4. Anything less is good too.
Yeah.
Except 1, that's just sad.
Yeah, yeah, because don't want your kid to be lonely, you know.
Exactly.
Oh man, but that's freaking. I don't know, just like the thought of like having kids. It's just like it's very like I feel like it's like a very like weird topic, but like I don't know. It's just I don't know, because I remember like because like I heard this from like my mom, how like after having my brother, my dad wanted to have like 10 kids. I'm just like, yeah, no, thank you. I wouldn't want that either. But instead they ended up having 3. My brother, my sister, and then me. So, yeah.
Yeah, with me and my sisters. I'm the baby, and I have 2 older sisters.
Yeah. So like 2 or 3, I feel like, is the reasonable amount.
Or 4. Like, that's why I say 4, like, because, like, it's not very, like, often you see 4.
Yeah.
It's usually, like, 3, 2, 1. So I'm like, 4 is the maximum because I know, like, not everyone can reach that number.
Yeah. Man. Oof.
What is that? Questions. Who was the shortest president? I don't know.
Who was the shortest president? Freaking, I don't even know.
I do, but, like, obviously he was the shortest. And, oh, that's so easy of who was the tallest. Don't even have to look that up.
Oh, yeah.
Would slavery still exist if the South won? Ooh.
What?
There's this question that said, which president had black children?
Had black children.
What kind of question is that?
The thing about, I don't think we've had, like, I think at the time we didn't have a black president until Obama.
I know, but, like, who's searching such a specific?
I mean, Obama. Man. I don't know, but freaking.
Which president had the highest IQ?
Highest IQ.
Ooh, which president had children with his maid?
Ayo. I mean, I like a lot, like, probably like back in the day, like, the presidents were probably, like, a little bit raunchy, if you know what I mean.
Oh, yeah, everyone for sure. Like, that's so... I'm not surprised.
Yeah. Like, could you, like, imagine, like, the shit they did back then, like, leads into, like, the shit that we didn't end up liking, like, today?
I do think of that sometimes. Not, like, in a weird way, but, like, I just wonder.
Yeah. Like, I feel like I love, like, all, like, this stuff that... Because, like, I feel like everything that we have now, and, like... But, like, in, like, this sense of, like, you know, like, the stuff that we do now, I feel like that had it all, like, begin at, like, somewhere back then, you know? Like, someone thought of this, and it kind of just, like, led on, you know? And just kind of turned into a thing.
Here's one.
I don't know, there's a video on the Joe Rogan Experience talking about the difference between World War II and Vietnam.
Really a question that says, which president made the word okay?
Made the word okay. It's... I feel like a president didn't even make that word. I feel like that's just part of, like, the English language. I was about to say American language, I was like, hey, no, that's not quite right. Not the American, language, but the English language, because, you know.
Apparently, I know, but, like, apparently a president gave the word okay. And they're like, oh, that's a new word.
Imagine that it's just there because that was the very last thing they said before they died.
Right? They were probably trying to say, like, Oklahoma said okay.
And then just boom, dead. His last words. Could you imagine your last words being like 2 letters?
That's so sad.
Oh man, that's so funny, but yeah, that's so fucked up. Oh man.
Which president married his cousin? What in the world is going on in these
Apart from Alabama.
For real.
Like, you know, like I'll be surprised, like there's probably like, you know, presidents or even just like politicians in general back then that probably like either like married a cousin or like a sibling or, you know, someone related probably. Like, I guarantee that's probably happened like way back in the day.
There's a question that says,
Well,
is Elon Musk related to a president? Like, what?
Well, because like there's even a theory of like Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton are related because they look alike and they're married to each other. Like, there's a theory of that out there, I think. Let me look. Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton.
And since people thought that he created the word okay, like the president, they also have a question. What did people say before okay? And it shows you everything they would say.
Well, like, there's like a theory out there, like Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton are like related, like same blood and everything, and they're married to each other. Like, there's like a theory out there.
Apparently, I heard a theory that you end up dating and marrying someone that looks like you.
Okay, well.
And I was like, that's very weird and creepy.
Yeah, like, why would I want to marry someone who looks exactly like this?
Exactly. I was like, but like, I understand what they're saying. Like, they could have like similar like features and everything. But like, people are like, no, like some look exactly like them, just in female form. And I was like, that's kind of weird.
Yeah. One thing that popped up, is there any relation between George Clinton and Bill Clinton? Clinton was also a candidate for president in the 1808 election, and they received 6 electoral votes. DeWitt Clinton, his nephew, also became governor of New York. George Clinton is in relation to the 42nd president, Bill Clinton, who took his stepfather's surname as a child.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I found something that says, what is the British way of saying okay?
Okay. We know that wasn't British. That was like Southern.
It's actually the word tickety boo.
Tickety boo.
Yeah, it was so random.
Could you imagine like someone like you're like saying something and then like their response is tickety boo? Like, what?
I would be like, what?
Like, at that point, you're just wondering if they're even like freaking human, or I don't fucking know.
I don't think they're smoking crack. Or if they're okay. I'm like, are you good?
Was Bill Clinton deaf? At the age of 51, former President Bill Clinton was fitted with completely in-the-canal CIC hearing aids while still in office in 1997. His hearing has progressively worsened throughout his adult life, and he often complained of it not being able to hear in crowded rooms. Interesting.
That's all.
I mean, makes sense. I mean, he's old as fuck. Like, look at him.
Wait, what does he even look like anymore? Let me see.
Yeah, let's look it up. He looks old as fuck now. How old even is he? I'm gonna look that up too.
He's probably like 500.
Clinton.
He's 76 years old.
Damn, fucking Joe Biden's older than that fuck.
Yeah.
Why is he still in office? Joe Biden's fucking 80 years old!
Right.
Joe Biden is 80 years old. Why is he in office?
It looks like he can't even keep his eyes open.
He's 80 years old. And wait, he still has till 2024 until they have to re-elect or something?
But he can't even read. Have you ever seen him trying to read? He can't read.
Bro, why is he our president? Okay, how old is Hillary Clinton? 75 years old. So she's a year younger than Bill is.
I thought you said 35 years old. There's no way.
Oh no, she's 75. If she was 35, and she looked like that,
Oh my god, she's scary.
I think the oldest president still alive, I think is Jimmy Carter. Dude's like 98.
First of all, you shouldn't be. I'm not saying like age is like a problem, but like when you reach a certain age, you shouldn't be able to run for president.
Yeah, like I feel like you shouldn't be able to run for president for at least past like 75.
Exactly. Because people that usually run for president start at the age of 40.
Yeah. Yeah, because like I think the reason like they go that like our presidents are like older in age when they're in office is because like they need to have that like experience beforehand to be able to be responsible for a country, you know.
Yeah, but like there's men that have been like born in 500 BC that look like our presidents.
Yeah. Actually, I'm curious. I'm gonna look that up. Who was the youngest? Who was the youngest president? There we go.
Wasn't it like Kennedy? No.
Oh yeah, it was John F. Kennedy.
I was right.
JFK.
And then his brother tried taking over for him after he was assassinated. And then I learned the whole story of the Kennedys. It was kind of like a really good topic to talk about because all the Kennedys all die in a bad way.
Yeah.
And like that's very interesting to see. Like they call it the curse of the Kennedys because every Kennedy has died in like a terrible way.
Yeah. Okay. How old was Barack Obama when he became president in 2008? Barack Obama was 47 years old when he became the president of the United States. He was born on August 4th, 1961, and he was the first inaugurated on...
Wait, what? Spell it.
INAUGURATED.
INAU?
Yeah. Inaugurated. Sorry, I can't. There's a reason why I failed the 5th grade. Okay, don't judge me.
You're like inaugurated, and I was like, what? It's inaugurated.
Okay, well you obviously graduated high school and I didn't yet. So.
Okay, but I failed kindergarten, so.
That doesn't mean anything compared to 5th grade.
That's even sadder than yours.
Anyways.
I mean, no wonder why they have the show, Are You Smarter Than a 5th Grader?
No,
because
I'm
they
not.
be having difficult stuff like this.
No, I am not smarter than a 5th grader. I think me and Hunter actually did a challenge like that, like way back in like 2019 when I was like a freshman. Or when me and him were both pretty much like a freshman. And literally like we did that challenge and I fucking failed miserable. Like I literally embarrassed myself on the internet.
I should ask you questions like that to see if you
Oh,
can
no.
answer them.
It's been like 4 years since we did that challenge and we never did it again because I was so fucking embarrassed. And there was a hot Cheetos challenge too, so I was like scarfing down hot Cheetos because of how many I got wrong. So yeah.
How much is 14 times 5?
14 times 5. Oh, that's a math one. I can get this. So it's.
You can't use a computer.
I'm not using that. I'm using my brain hole.
Oh, your brain hole?
Yeah, my brain hole.
Instead of butthole, is your brain hole?
Probably. That's probably why I'm so fucking stupid. Anyways.
You were dropped on your head too many times.
Yeah. I mean, and the airbag hit me too. So there's that.
I was always hit, but that's why I low-key like being hit now, so it's fine.
We're gonna make this as an 18+ podcast now. Anyway. Okay, so alright. I have to focus. You're distracting me. Okay. So 70.
Yeah, good job.
See, told you. I'm good with math like that.
How many inches are in a foot?
How many inches are in a foot? 12 inches.
Good. You'd be surprised how many people I ask that and they don't know. What is the clinical name for the thigh bone?
Fuck. Said that I don't remember anything about the body except that we have like over like 200 bones or something like that.
I mean, your bones always be cracking. You should know.
Oh my god. We don't talk about that.
Literally, you could lift up your arm and it goes.
Oh my god. Fuck, I don't know.
It is your femur.
Oh my god, I should have known that.
What is the longest river in the United States?
Mississippi River? I don't know.
No, Missouri.
Damn.
Whose picture is on the $5 bill?
$5 bill. I just start pulling out my wallet and look.
That's cheating.
Who's on the $5 bill? Isn't it, Lincoln?
Yes, it is.
Okay, that's what I thought. I couldn't remember if it was like the 5 or 20, but no, he's on the 5.
Now, since you're so good at like math questions, how many inches are there in 2 yards?
How many inches are there in 2 yards? 2 yards is, so there's, so, if I remember correctly, 3 feet, wait no, 3 feet is a yard, I believe. And you said how many inches are in 2 yards?
Yeah.
Okay, so right up from 12, 34, 36. So that means there's 36 inches in 1 yard. And so 2 yards, you just multiply 36 by 2. So, so 30, 72 inches. I don't like how silent it got after I said that.
What'd you say?
72 inches.
Yes.
See? I'm smart, kinda. Not really.
You're only smart with simple questions. Because if I was to ask you something difficult, you're like, ugh.
Oh my god. Okay.
Oh, there's like vocab area. That's the area Zach needs. And spelling?
Yeah. Oh man. I wonder if we should get into a one screen recording.
What was the first day of the 20th century?
What is the first year of the 20th century?
Yes.
I don't know.
Well, it is January 1st, 1901.
Oh, fuck me. God damn it. I was overthinking. I thought it was like a specific date. You know what? I'm throwing it in the towel. We already know I'm not further than 5th grader. I throw it in the towel.
No, you literally were doing so good. You missed what, like 2?
Yeah, but I shouldn't have missed any.
I mean, to be fair, would have not been able to.
Oh my god. Alright, so if we should get into the first screen recording here. I guess I might get in the first screen recording here since we're already like, you know, over at half.
I hate story columns. Yeah, if you were to get that would fail.
So we're gonna get into a screen recording on the Civil War here. You guys might feel like you're in freaking high school. I'm sorry about that. This is the topic for this week. Okay.
History 101.
This one's on a channel called Oversimplified. It has 51 million views from 3 years ago. Yeah. Alright, so let's pull this up, close that, start a screen recording. Starting a screen recording, 3, 2, 1. Alright, there we go. And let's get right into it.
Video was made possible by Nord till month 3. Also, stunning, the very honest new cat. One last push, and we're done. And 4 days ago, my father brought forth upon my mother himself, and gave to her a child, conceived in a shack in Kentucky, and dedicated to the proposition that I would drink num-nums from a bottle and do little poo-poos in my pantses for the next 2 to 3 years. Now what is it babies do again? Oh yeah.
What the fuck?
I am not touching it.
I don't know. That was a weird fucking intro to
Abraham
this.
Lincoln grew up with a relatively poor family in Kentucky, eventually moving to Indiana, and finally, Illinois. He read a lot of books, worked a lot of jobs, wrote some questionable poetry, and finally entered the law profession. Despite being self-taught, he turned out to be a pretty clever and astute lawyer. In one case, a guy claimed he witnessed a murder at night, and Lincoln was like, "How could you have seen anything in the dark? There was a bright full moon." A what? A bright full moon. Can you say that again, please? There was a bright full moon. A dim half moon? No, a bright full moon. That's funny, because according to this almanac, there was a dim half moon that night, which makes you a liar. Well, I got a bright full moon for y'all right here. Now that's what I call a rebuttal.
Oh my god. What even?
Lincoln and his cheekbones weren't only interested in law, however. He also
The
dabbled
first
in
thing
the
that
world
popped
of
up on
politics,
the topic,
serving as a
so-
legislator in both local and national assemblies. And what a time it was. Not even 100 years after the Founding Fathers wrote all men are created equal, politicians were already asking, yeah, but what does that mean exactly? It means all men. Yeah, but what does that mean exactly? And not just that. States' rights versus the federal government. What are the executive powers of the president? Is cereal a soup? The Founding Fathers left some of these questions perhaps a little too open to interpretation. And the biggest question of them all was slavery, an ugly mark on what should have been a revolutionary new nation based on liberty and democracy. Thomas Jefferson had written a condemnation of slavery in the Declaration of Independence, but out of fear of losing Southern states' support, it was removed. Hey guys, do you think leaving this a little vague will create any unforeseen problems in the future? Cannonball! And those unforeseen problems were now beginning to rear their ugly heads. As the nation developed, the North and the South developed along two very different lines, and two very different cultural identities emerged. Northern cities began rapidly industrializing, while the southern climate allowed for large plantations of labor-intensive crops. As a result, one half of the country didn't rely on slaves, while the other half had become economically dependent on them. In 1793, Eli Whitney's cotton gin caused the slave trade in the South to explode. While in the North, a growing abolitionist movement was taking root. A general mistrust began to develop between the North and the South, as Northerners felt the South were hell-bent on expanding slavery, and fear spread throughout the South that the North wanted to take their slaves away. In 1819, there were 11 free states and 11 slave states. A perfect balance. A happy medium. A harmonious relationship. Hey guys, nice to meet you. I'm Missouri, and I would like to become the 23rd state. Hey buddy, welcome to the nation. We'll be happy to accept you as a free state. Oh no, you don't. You're trying to get one over on us. Missouri's gonna be a slave state. Okay, listen, why don't we just ask Missouri what it wants to be, and we slave state. Well, then, allow me to introduce to you the newest, freshest state on the scene. Maine. Hey, you can't do that, and you can't have any more slave states above this line. What? The issue of slavery is solved, and it will never come up again. A few years later, it came up again. You see, as America expanded westward, each new state or territory that was added threatened to upend the delicate balance between the slave and free states. If one faction managed to outnumber the other, it could gain an easy majority and force its own ideals on the opposing side, leaving a huge portion of the population feeling spiteful and oppressed. For a while, compromises kicked the can down the road and kept the volatile balance in check, as new free and slave states were roughly added in pairs. But then one loudmouth state just had to barge in and ruin everything as usual. The addition of Texas saw the United States enter into a war with Mexico, which they won, gaining a huge amount of land out west and creating even more problems. Hey guys, nice to meet you. I'm California, and I would like to become the 31st state. Hey buddy, welcome to the nation. We'll be happy to accept you as a southern slave state. Oh no you don't. You're trying to get one over on us. California's gonna be a free state. Okay, listen, why don't we just ask California what it wants to be, and we can free state. Well, then, allow me to introduce to you the territories of New Mexico and Utah, able to freely vote for slavery themselves. Hey, you can't do that! And we can enter Northern Territory anytime we want to recapture escaped slaves. What? The issue of slavery is solved, and it will never come up again. A few years later, it came up again. In 1854, a Democratic senator from Illinois wanted to build a really cool choo-choo train here, and proposed that the territories of Kansas and Nebraska be created open to slavery, even though they were clearly above the Missouri Compromise line. Obviously, the northern states were like, hell no. But the Southern Democrats who controlled Congress at the time were like, well, if you love liberty and democracy so much, then you should let them vote on whether slavery should be legal or not. And so it was. Huge numbers of pro- and anti-slavery settlers rushed to Kansas to sway the vote in their favor. And while they were all there, they began to beat the crap out of each other. One of those settlers was a man named John Brown, a former businessman who failed at just about everything he tried and went arguably insane. He was a radical abolitionist and dedicated much of his life to the Underground Railroad and freeing slaves. One night, in revenge for an earlier raid by pro-slavery forces, he and his sons killed a number of pro-slavery settlers in the territory, helping to kickstart years of violence known as Bleeding Kansas. Kansas and Nebraska both eventually voted in favor of outlawing slavery. But from here, the tension began to grow at a rapid pace. In 1852, author Harriet Beecher Stowe penned Uncle Tom's Cabin, a best-selling novel that exposed the terrible cruelty of slavery to the world. Oh, how awful. How morally corrupt a nation must be to allow such things to happen. Your Majesty, what should we do about all the starving children working in the coal mines? Nothing! In 1854, the Republican Party was formed, and Abraham Lincoln emerged as a leading figure. Southern Democrats viewed the new Republican Party with mistrust, believing it to be radical and abolitionist. In 1856, a politician named Charles Sumner gave a speech in Congress, calling out slave-owning Democrats with fiery language. If slavery was a woman, she'd be an ugly one. And the senator from South Carolina would like to boink her. Representative Brooks, do you have a rebuttal? Oh, I have a rebuttal, all right. Yeah, here's a rebuttal for you. Oh, come on. Surely this isn't allowed. I don't know. I'll have to consult the rulebook. I can't find anything about caning a political opponent, but it says here I'm not allowed to wear a woman's underwear. Uh-oh. News of the violence on the Senate floor took the nation by storm. Southern slave owners sent Representative Brooks new canes to replace his now broken one. And on the floors of Congress, politicians carried weapons in self-defense, which is never a good sign. In 1857, the Supreme Court ruled in the Dred Scott case that all people of African descent, slave or free, could not be citizens, and therefore could not sue for their own freedom under any circumstances, undoing years of progress with the strike of a gavel. Now, within all this bitter debate over slavery, there were many nuances: North versus South, Republican versus Democrat, states versus the federal government. But let's strip all of that away. For 4 million individuals living in America, this wasn't about political intrigue or party alignment. It was about the basic human right to be free. Men, women, and children were stolen from their homelands and brought to the American continent, where for generations they were considered to be property, forced to live in poverty, and work from sunrise to sunset. Plantation overseers did whatever they felt was necessary to get the most out of their slaves. Punishments were often barbaric. Families were regularly separated, and parents could often only watch, as their children were auctioned off, never to be seen again. Thousands of slaves took the treacherous risk of running away, and abolitionists in the North helped many escape via the Underground Railroad, as bounty hunters entered the North to chase them down. Leading figures within the abolitionist movement included many significant free black men and women. But it's important to note that for many of the anti-slavery white individuals in the North, opposition to slavery was often an economic issue, not a moral one, as many worried large plantations would take their lands and livelihoods away. Abraham Lincoln knew that slavery was a moral evil, and he regularly spoke out against it in powerful speeches that helped him rise through the ranks of the new Republican Party. He lamented at the hypocrisy of a great American nation meant to stand as a shining beacon of freedom, while also enslaving 4 million men, women, and children. He most famously declared in 1858 that a house divided against itself cannot stand. that one day, slavery in America would end. However, even Lincoln was cautious in his opposition. He didn't want to outlaw it entirely, but simply prevent its expansion, so that given enough time, he believed it would naturally die out. Thankfully, history would force his hand. In October 1859, one abolitionist decided he'd try to single-handedly take down slavery by force. Who would be crazy enough to even attempt such a thing? It's our good friend, John Brown. He planned to seize arms from an armory in the town of Harper's Ferry, free the slaves there, and continue south, inciting a major slave uprising along the way. A noble cause.
The screen recording there. Then we'll get back to that one in just a second. Oh man. No man, so there's obviously like a lot more stuff on the topic of the Civil War, but it's really going by little of like the whole entire history of it, which means obviously we won't have enough time for that in this episode because we already have about like 15 minutes left of the podcast. So yeah. So there's that. Yeah, but it's definitely like freaking putting some like humor and stuff into it. And it's definitely
that random like cry or scream we heard at first. I was like, what is going on?
Yeah, but you know, we all like that. You gotta make things like that interesting, you know.
To make it interesting, yeah, because nobody's gonna watch it.
Yeah, so that's why they do that, and yeah, so yeah, we got like a little bit of time left, and then we'll do another screen recording on that.
You must be very thirsty.
Yeah, I was gonna say something there, mine, but we're still on air.
Say it after.
Say it after. Oh my god. Oh man, okay. Yeah, so this was during a time basically when like all 50 states were even a state yet. Well, like, there were states, but not all 50 were states yet.
I felt like only I feel like there was only like a teen amount of states, like they were in the teen numbers, but don't quote me.
Yeah.
Let me see. I lied. It was in the 30s. Some say it was in the 20s.
Mm. Okay. Alright, so I think we'll just get right into the last screen recording because screen recording will take like 10 minutes and we got like 12 minutes left, which means we'll have 2 minutes left until it hits an hour. So yeah, might as well just get right back on into it. Alright, so starting your screen recording, 3, 2, 1. Let's get right into it.
And John Brown. He planned to seize arms from an armory in the town of Harper's Ferry, free the slaves there, and continue south, inciting a major slave uprising along the way. A noble cause, a bad plan, and terrible execution. Brown's men took the armory and some hostages, but were quickly surrounded by one Robert E. Lee and his U.S. Marines. Brown was captured, and a couple of months later, he was executed for treason. Northerners sympathized with Brown, but Southerners were like, "You see this? They're coming for us. Soon, there'll be 1 million John Browns. 1 million John Browns? What on earth are you thinking about? A John Brown farm? Yeah.
John Brown farm.
To make matters worse, new northern free states meant now the southern states really were outnumbered, and they were beginning to feel bitterly spiteful and oppressed. Further fear began to spread in the South when news broke that a relatively unknown figure had just secured the Republican Party nomination for president. Abraham Lincoln, mostly well-liked among anti-slavery Northerners, had made some of the most powerfully worded speeches against slavery of any politician at the time. And now, there was a chance that he, and his cheekbones, could become president. For the South, that would be too much. In the 1860 election, Lincoln's name didn't even appear on the ballot in 10 southern states. But much to their horror, when the final results came in, Lincoln had won by an electoral college landslide.
Wow.
Lincoln himself tried to calm their fear. How many times do I have to tell you, I'm not gonna take away your slaves? Yeah, right, Honest Abe. We've had enough of you Northerners. We're gonna go form our own country. You can't do that. Why not? Well, if you had won the election, would it be okay for us to leave? Of course not. Well, why not? Because that's not how victim mentality works. Many states felt that when they joined the Union, they always withheld the right to leave it whenever they pleased. Many people living in 19th century America often felt more loyalty to their state than to the nation. And now, with the South feeling like it had lost its voice in the federal government, they were out of here. South Carolina was the first to go, and over a period of 6 months, one by one, 11 slave states officially seceded from the Union, with just 4 contested border states opting to remain. The seceding states issued a number of official documents justifying their secession. South Carolina proclaimed that it was northern states' hostility to slavery that rendered the federal government illegitimate. Mississippi declared that their position was thoroughly identified with the institution of slavery. And in a speech, the Confederate Vice President stated that the new Confederate government rested upon what he called the great truth of racial inequality. Revered American generals, such as Robert E. Lee, opted to side with their states over the Union. And with all the chaos, one New York lawyer wrote that rather than a bald eagle, America's national bird should be a debilitated chicken. And hey, I kinda like that. One man, watching the crisis unfold, knew it would be his job to solve it. Lincoln was just about to hop on a train and become the President of the United States of America. Hey man, you're hella ugly. Grow a beard or something to hide that face. Good idea. Still ugly. With assassination plots already underway, Lincoln had to travel to Washington, D.C. under heavy disguise and protection. All along the way, he received stacks of threatening letters. May the hand of the devil strike you down. You are destroying this country. Damn you, every breath you take. Love from Grandma. At his inauguration speech, Lincoln once again reiterated that no, I do not want to take away anyone's slaves. But for Lincoln, he did want to preserve the Union. He declared secession to be nothing but an illegitimate rebellion. In your hands and not in mine, he said, is the momentous issue of civil war. You can have no conflict without being yourselves the aggressors. We are not enemies, but friends. It was clear Lincoln was ready and willing to get freaky and open up a can of Scatman John if he had to. Whether he had the support of the people, however, was in question. In the end, it was the Confederates that fired the first shot. As they seceded, the Confederate states began seizing federal U.S. property throughout the South. Off the coast of Charleston, South Carolina, was one such federal property, Fort Sumter, held by a measly, undersupplied U.S. force. The Confederate militia there demanded the fort surrender, a request which was quickly denied, and any remaining hope for a peaceful solution to the secession crisis probably then died when the Confederates did this. The Battle of Fort Sumter is considered to be the beginning of the American Civil War. Many of the Confederates there also considered it to be the end of the American Civil War. They hoped Old Abe would just sigh and say, okay, you win. Unfortunately for them, Lincoln actually said, you're about to get a roundhouse to the face. Lincoln sent out the call for 75,000 volunteers, and men signed up in droves, hopeful for some adventure and good old-fashioned F-U-N. In the new Confederate capital of Richmond, Virginia, Confederate President Jefferson Davis and his cheekbones had also sent out the call for 100,000 men. As ever, both sides hoped for a quick end to the war. Is it over yet? No, Jimmy, it's been 1 week. Is it over now? No! How about now? If you ask that one more time, I swear I will turn this army around and you'll all have to go back home to your wives and children. But in particular, the South knew the conflict would pose a bit of a challenge. How can we expect to win with a population of only 5 million against 22 million in the North? If you count us 4 million slaves, you'd have 9 million. Great idea. Hand these rifles out to all them. Wait a minute. You almost had me there. The problem for Lincoln was that many of his top generals were getting old and were being a bit too cautious. The commanding general was a man named Winfield Scott, a veteran of the Mexican-American War, and by now, he was too fat to even mount a horse. Okay, chaps, we need to come up with a plan. Hit me. We could wait for the Confederates to come and apologize. Maybe we should all sit in a circle and discuss our feelings. Crossing the Delaware into New Jersey worked for me. Those are all terrible ideas. And you? Wrong video. Hey, I'm the greatest president in the history of this nation. Yeah, we'll see about that, dingus. Eventually, Lincoln's generals came up with a multi-pronged strategy. First, a blockade would cut off and starve the South of supplies by sea. Secondly, taking control of the Great Mississippi River would sever the South's economic artery while splitting it in two. And finally, a main Union force in the east would move south and take the Confederate capital, ending the war. Bada boom, bada bing. Skirmishes began to break out across the nation, and the Union Army in the east began to move south towards Richmond. Everything seemed to be going well until they reached Manassas, where they came upon a large Confederate force. It's almost like they were waiting for us. How did they know? As it turned out, spies in DC had sent a coded message to the Confederates warning of the invasion. Did you use NordVPN? What the heck is NordVPN? I'm so glad you asked. Do you use the internet? Me too. Do you like internet safety? Me too. Hey, we should hang out sometime so I can tell you about NordVPN. NordVPN has over 5,000 secure and super fast servers in 60 countries that allow you to surf the net safely without personal data logging. Not only does it help you stay secure, but with just a click of a button, you can take a quick trip to Sweden and enjoy some Nordic crime dramas. Is there some amazing content on YouTube that's still blocked in your country? Not to fear, NordVPN is here. NordVPN gives you access to all of these amazing features, and it has a 30-day money-back guarantee. So click the link in the description below, nordvpn.com/oversimplified, and use promo code OVERSIMPLIFIED to get 70% off an annual subscription. That's only $3.49 a month, plus an additional month for free. Again, that's nordvpn.com/oversimplified. And as always, you'll be supporting my channel. So thank you. Now where were we? Oh yeah, secession, Fat Man, and the Union invasion into Virginia. The two sides encountered each other at Manassas, and both geared up for the first major battle of the Civil War, the First Battle of Bull Run. The Confederates rapidly brought in support via rail, and the two sides were about equal in numbers. However, they were also equally inexperienced. A large number of civilians also rode out by carriage from DC to picnic on the nearby hills and watch the excitement unfold. Nobody seemed to quite understand how destructive this war was going to be. The Union forces pulled a flanking maneuver to hit the Confederates on their left, and the two sides fired on each other in rows. Farm families living in the area were forced to flee the fighting, including a man named Wilmer McLean. Hurry up, Martha! There's a war out here! The more you tell me to hurry up, the slower I will go! The Union force saw initial success pushing the Confederates back to Henry Hill, but one as of yet fairly unknown General Thomas Jackson had arrived, and he took a defensive position, standing firm like a stone wall, holding the Union army off, and finally sending them running back to Washington, D.C. With heavy casualties, the sobering reality of war hit both sides hard, and the North, having just lost the first major battle, had to face the serious prospect that they may not actually win this war. President Lincoln, General Jackson whipped us so hard, the Confederates are calling him Stonewall Jackson. Wait, that's why they're calling him that? Not because he looks like he ran face first into a stone wall? Apparently not. Worse yet, the North had also lost the first major battle out west, giving away control of southwest Missouri. All of this was terrible news for Abraham Lincoln, especially since many of his generals and cabinet already didn't have much respect for him. They felt he was incapable of running a war, because he seemed a bit like your friendly old grandpa. He famously loved a long-winded story and a good pun. I've been so busy, my wife is missing me. But her aim is starting to improve. But deep down, few realized he could also be incredibly shrewd. Oh, Abe, you're so funny. Funny how? Funny like I'm a clown? Abe, I was just... No, funny how? Like I'm here to amuse you? During the war, Lincoln committed acts that were viewed by some as impeachable. His administration...
And there goes that screen recording. We're about towards the end. But I think that'd be a good way to end off the podcast. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed. I know I'm getting it off a little short here just because, I don't want to make it too long on this kind of topic, But anything you'd like to say before we end off?
No.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know what to say.
Yeah, that's fair. But anyways, guys, we're doing back-to-back episodes again. So this is one of them. We're gonna do another one probably not today, but probably next day or so, probably for next week, just because I'll be on the road next week. So as you guys know, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the podcast. If you haven't already, hit the link in the description and go to my main channel and subscribe to my main channel already. Get me to 300 subscribers at some point. I wanted to get it at the end of the year, but we're already at the half point of the year. But it's alright. It's all about growth. So So you go there, you'll see podcast highlights over there. You'll see regular content, and you'll see like gaming content there as well, and just whatnot. If you haven't already, just make sure to go over there and subscribe. Now, because that'll mean the world to me, you know. And yeah, so again, remember to subscribe to the podcast if you haven't already, and then hit that notification bell because then you'll be notified for new episodes every Saturday. Because it's Saturdays with the Boys podcast and whatnot. And yeah, I hope you guys are having an amazing summer. And yeah, any last thoughts? Alright.
No.
Alright, I hope you guys enjoy. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, we'll see you guys next week. Deuces. Say bye.
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 Trapping.